Here's how I embroider without having to knot my thread. This is just a practice piece of a sample that I was doing, so there will be knots with the black outline, but we're just going to be focusing on this green color. So I'm going to start with my knotless tail, coming through the fabric to begin my first straight stitch, but holding it before pulling it all the way through. I'm going to use my index finger to continue holding that thread tail on the back while I complete my first straight stitch as we practice some long and short filler. Continuing to secure that tail with my finger, I'm starting with the second stitch, but before pulling all the way through again, I'm going to just maneuver that tail in between the loop and secure it down that way. So now it's actually pretty secure. I'm trying to pull tight here. I'll flip it over and you can see I'm pulling pretty aggressively and nothing's coming undone. I can continue stitching like normal, and just naturally as I go down this line, I'm going to cover up that little tail so that it won't be visible once the backing is finished. I'm going to continue to do some stitches here just to fill it out a little bit, but of course it's one thing to start it without knots and then being able to finish it without knots as well. So to secure the end, I'm just going to weave my thread through some of this existing stitching on the back in a couple of different directions, and then that way it'll actually be pretty secure. And again, as I stitch some more, because I would be filling out more space, I would continue to secure down those loose ends. Once finished, you can also clip off the tails like I'm doing here so that they're even less visible. Obviously, I would recommend being mindful of where you're threading the tails because you don't want the weaving to be super visible on the back. Here's the 3D flower for reference again, and you can see I have some loose tails here and there, but overall it's pretty seamless and you can't see where I started or stopped. This also isn't something I would do on like clothing or anything that needs to be heavily manipulated in daily use, but works for these 3D art instances or anytime you would want to hide the back because it'll be visible. Hope this helps.